JB here from Alpha Wolf Consulting. Coming to you today with another episode of Stone Does Adventures, where I'm going out to, I think it's called Junee National Park, which is roughly just maybe half an hour out of Middlemount. So I'm pretty keen for that. I haven't been out that way yet, so I think it's going to be a really fun time. And I just wanted to bring you in on this episode. What I wanted to talk about, and what I'll probably talk about, will have to do with really heavily with spirituality. Okay, so just as a preface, I want to explain where I conclude my hypothesis from, and what influencing factors and what theoretical data I use to basically formulate my theses and sort of work through and understand. To come to the beliefs and conclusions on life that I have in the universe, I've dedicated, probably minimum 100,000 hours just over the last 5 years alone. So my whole life, I've had one goal, and that was to understand the universe and sort of understand life, what causes life, what creates life, what is the meaning of life. And I'll basically talk you through today the different theories, the different mentors that I seeked to find, and basically I'll basically walk you through the story of sort of what I've found along the way. So to understand this, I've dedicated a lot of time in theoretical physics. Now, I've got no degrees, okay? I just have an obsessive personality, and I used to love and obsess about theoretical physics, because theoretical physics is life in possibility. So you got to understand, and this is what's so exciting about it, is in theoretical physics, anything is possible. We just have to find out, is it actually real? So what we do is we formulate our most creative ideas of what could be, and then we create and test models and measures to see if it's true. And it's a very exciting thing, because once we take one step past theoretical physics, and then we go into quantum physics, and then we get into metaphysics, when we can connect the dots between the three, we can see how to create infinite possibilities. So understand, my belief in life and my purpose in life is to seek knowledge and truth. Though truth is not real, for truth is subjective, not objective. There is no universal truths. There is just our interpretation of truth, because meaning and truth is only derived within us. It's not derived outside of us. A lion doesn't say he eats a gazelle because it's true. He just does. And this is one important thing to understand when it comes to life and the universe and the overall universe meaning is, it just is. Okay? Because there's life, I am alive. Okay? There is no meaning outside of that. Life is a state of flow. Life is all the potential energy that ever is and ever was and ever can be. So we've got to understand that life is not, and when I say life, I talk about the energetic structure of life, the electromagnetic sphere we create in our chest by being alive, the energy we give to each other and we take from another. Okay, so you got to understand we are energetic beings when we understand that we create different frequencies and wavelengths. Like, for example, I am utilizing energy through vocal spoken word. So through the utilization of muscles and chemical energy, so releasing protons and shit like that and sugars and all of that, I'm able to manipulate my muscles to create specific lengths of wind to go across my vocal cords, and then basically I'm able to shape it with my tongue and mouth. Okay, so we got to understand it's a transference of energy, because all you hear on the other end is the vibration tones. So you hear the vibrations, and then your brain creates cohesive, consensus order with those vibrations to mean specific words. So we got to understand that meaning is a way for our brain to associate different forms of information together. It's a cohesive way. So, for example, in life, me personally, I try to create meaning in everything I do naturally, because it's a way to create a story. And this is why in life, and it's a funny thing, because in life it's been so drummed out of us, but we all create and weave these stories of our life. So our life isn't just existing, but it's a story of points between existence, of meaning, of feelings, of emotions. So we got to understand that all these moments are woven together in a cohesive form that we create a narrative and a story about. Okay? So when we understand this, we're able to understand that meaning is only inside of us and it is not outside of us. So I have meaning in my life, and all actions have a meaning to me, but they won't mean the same to you, and your meanings won't mean the same to me. So we've got to understand that when it comes to truth and meaning, okay, it's not based on objective truth, and we should never seek to base it on objective truth. We should always seek to base it on subjective truth and have a coherent version. So that's all truth is. A truth is an agreed upon belief of this is how it should be. So, we all agree that, you shouldn't go out and harm others, okay? And those who don't agree with that and that are predators, I look forward to meeting you. I will show you why you want to believe that people should not be fucking mistreated. So, but that I digress, but the thing we got to understand is that our meaning is what is sacred to us, but we can't put our meaning on other people. We have to keep our meaning for us, and we share it with other people, but we don't let it be influenced by other people, and we don't seek to influence other people's meaning. Okay? Because the problem is, and I'll give you a bit of a analogy or whatever, I don't remember what it's called, but basically a man seeking faith will always find faith. Okay? A man seeking truth will always find truth. A man seeking dishonesty will always find dishonesty. Okay? And a man seeking enlightenment will always find enlightenment. The thing is, in life, we will always, whatever we seek, we will find out the truth. Now, this doesn't mean that the truth is real. So we got to understand that the truth we seek out, so, if we're seeking out truth in life, that truth is subjective to us. So regardless of if it's objective, if it's non-objective, okay, if we see it as subjective, if we see it as objective. If we see it as objective, we're still going to try to mold that truth to our truth. So the key thing to remember is, regardless of anything in life, whatever you seek, you will find. But it doesn't mean that it's going to be real. Now, I mean real in the sense that if I seek truth in justice, I may mislead or bend the boundaries of justice to fit my truth. So the problem is, when I seek with certainty for an outcome, I may be inclined to manipulate the circumstances to guarantee the outcome. So you got to understand, the problem with this is doesn't give us authentic data. This gives us highly biased, so we have a potential to become biased towards the outcome. Because if I want to know that truth is honesty, honor, like having a code of values that you do not break, if I want to believe that, I will skew all truth into that framework. Now, it doesn't mean that everyone else will see it in that framework. So that's where the data becomes misleading, is when I believe that the framework means this, but other people believe that it means something else. And that's exactly how our society is at the moment. And you can see it across many things, but you got to understand this. With morality, okay, morality is the consequential equal of justification. So whatever you can justify reasonably as being a moral act, okay, your morality sits beyond that point. Okay, so if I can justify, beating someone to a pulp because they're a predator, then for me to take those actions is not immoral. But it doesn't mean that others won't see it as immoral. So what we've got to understand is that we have to have consensus between what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, and then we've got to understand that individually we work within those bounds, and we don't seek to create those bounds to serve us, but we look to see how we can serve within those bounds, okay? So for example, with me personally, I don't believe in taking advantage or hurting people, okay? Now that doesn't mean I don't believe in violence. It means I won't come up and attack you, okay, for no reason without provocation, because I require you to attack me before I am able to respond, because I just would rather not have to go out there and deal with fuckwits trying to fuck with me. So if I don't go out there and look for shit, the likelihood that I'm going to get in shit is highly less. And literally throughout my life, people don't fight me. Some people want to fight me, but they never really understand what it means to fight me. See, in a fight, you may look at me thinking, oh, I'm going to knock your teeth in. Whereas I look at you and I'm either going to punch you in the throat and try and bruise your esophagus so you choke to death within a couple of minutes. I might hit you in the temple and try and bruise your brain and get bleeding on the brain. I might knee you in the nuts and try and bruise your stem if you're a dude. I would never attack a girl, but if a girl attacks me first and there's physical threat, then I will deal with that physical threat. But unless there's a physical threat to my life, I will not respond. So, but the thing is people don't understand that. But I don't I don't respond to it. So if someone's trying to start me, I understand that, my aim is to take them out of their position of advantage. So I want to hit them unexpectedly, because the majority of knockout blows are the unexpected blows, because you can't prepare, so you get sensory overload and it causes your nerve centers to shut down for a short period. So that's the thing, is if you're competent and capable and able to defend yourself, you don't need to respond to all acts of violence. You only need to respond when you perceive physical danger. And then, how you deal with that is you then go to the maximum aggressiveness in the shortest period of time, because what that does is that can, then we're playing on, behavioral psychology, and we're trying to manipulate the subconscious into understanding, what we're trying to do is we're trying to invoke that fight or flight predatory instinct where they feel like a prey. Okay? But what we want to do is we also want to implement shock and awe, because if we're able to overload their optic and their audio and visual, their audio, visual and physical senses, what we're able to do is we're able to shock and stun people to the point where their brain just can't compute, and it needs to reassess because too many variables approach at the one time. So that's sort of there's many different layers that we're going into. But when we understand the human mind and consciousness like this, okay, we're able to understand how we developed and the reasons for why we developed. So the reason, we have emotion is to help connect us. But it's also, emotion is something that was developed within us when we were building tribes, when we were in the Stone Ages. So there was a lot of predators. So the emotions also developed to be instincts where it's fight or flight, predatory instincts. So in any, dangerous engagement, if we understand those instincts, we can take people out of their logical mind into their unconscious mind. And how we do this, and you'll understand this if anyone's ever gaslighted you. So if I say something that offends you and then I keep provoking you, you will become emotionally unstable, if you let it, because you'll start to respond on emotions. And as that increases, and the more you become emotional, the more you get fixed into automatic routines. So you're basically running on automated programs. Now, when we get into, understanding fighting and combat, if I can get you into there and you don't really have any automated processes set up, so you haven't done an effective amount of training to set up scenarios and things like that, what will happen is you will just basically go blank and either not understand how to respond, or you'll instantly feel a need to cower or flee. Trust me, I speak from experience, because when I was young, between the ages of 8 and 15, when grown men would try and physically assault and attack me, I wouldn't understand how to deal with that situation. I had to learn how to deal with that situation. So the thing is I had to learn how to create those scenarios of how to respond to different threats of violence. So the thing is, many people don't do that, or they don't seek to control their mind in the sense of they don't seek to control their emotions. So the majority of people who go out and look to start a fight are genuinely insecure about themselves, and they feel inferiority complexes. So the thing is if you know this and someone comes to provoke a response to you, well, you can play that to your advantage by making them really feel intimidated and inferior to you. So if we understand that they're going to do that, well, if you're trying to provoke me, if I am emotionally blank and not responding, And it's not a fear response, it's just I'm just standing there looking dead in the eye with you and just assessing you. And I just go silent and assess you. If I do that to you, how are you going to provoke me? Well, you're going to try and say something smart. So then if I don't respond to that, or I laugh at you, like, what are you going to do? If I smile, and the key to this is you have to understand how to project the field of energy that you want them to feel. And I learned about this in many different ways, but one of them was through love. But basically, in a fight, if I project to you that I'm having an amazing time and I'm happy as fuck, and you're trying to provoke me and I'm not even threatened and I'm not even angry, it's harder for you to try and justify an attack against me. So the thing is, but it's also harder for you to assess because you'll assume that I am unaware that physical violence is coming. Whereas in my mind, I am projecting that with the full understanding that I am assessing you to watch for a movement where I can guarantee that you're about to try and strike me and then I'm going to hit you unexpectedly. See, that's the thing. So it's being able to control multiple different levels of your emotional states simultaneously while remaining in full control of your conscious thought. So when we get put into fear, we instantly get put into our subconscious, which controls our emotions. And when we get put into our subconscious, which controls our emotions, it doesn't control logical reasoning. So the problem with that is without logic and reasoning, we can't create cohesive and coherent formulated attacks, and we can't predict behavior because we're just reacting to the behavior. Now, don't get me wrong, okay, in all fighting, okay, when we're talking about martial arts, when we're talking about, boxers and all that, that's why they train so much, is so that it's ingrained. They have multiple different strategies ingrained into their subconscious so they don't consciously have to fight. While some technical fighters will consciously fight, some natural fighters will just get into the flow of fighting and they'll just anticipate and predict, and they'll be in a state of ebb and flow. So we got to understand there's those two states, but in both of those states there is negative states to that. There are positive states where we're in the ebb and flow, and we're also in the technical mind. So what I mean by the technical mind is when we can understand and comprehend what's happening and calculate and formulate our responses. So for example, anything you do for a long duration that you develop and get really, really good at, you'll either just be naturally good at and you'll just know how to do it and not understand exactly what you're doing, just know the outcome that it will get. And then there's the theoretical or the logical minded approach where you've learned processes on how to do it, and when you're presented with a task, you run different scenarios on different processes and different applications. So when we're able to understand this, what we're able to do is learn, how do I learn best, but we're also able to understand, well, what are the different methodologies and ways of learning that. So for example, to learn something logically, we need repetition. But also to learn something subconsciously, we also need repetition. But it's two types of repetition. To learn logically is the repetition of actively learning, listening, reading, writing. It's all the theoretical knowledge. While subconsciously, to learn, what we need to do is we need to experience. So our conscious mind is all of our logical processing and understanding, and our unconscious mind is all of our feelings and our emotions and our instincts. So what we're able to do is, if we're able to understand the differences between the act of learning and the act of doing, okay, because we really need to understand this, and this is the formula of manifestation, is when we get to understand both in depth. So we got to understand, to manifest, what we need to do is create a vision. We need to associate an emotion, a feeling to it, so that we can feel it now in the present. And then we have to take actions towards it, actions that we feel guided to take. That is manifesting. And then we just need belief that if we take those actions, we will reach the goal that we want, or the objective that we have. So, by really understanding this, we are able to be, do, and have anything we want in life, but also we're able to understand the differences between, well, what do I need to do to become competent and capable? Well, I need to learn, but then I need to gain, experiential knowledge and experiential data. I got to get punched in the face to understand how to avoid it. I can watch someone avoid a punch in the face all day long, but if I don't understand the difference in speeds and things like that, then I'm always going to cop that punch in the face. So that's what we got to understand. And as kids, how did we learn? Well, the first way we learned was by doing. So it was ingrained into us. But then we were told that that wasn't the right way. And this is the misconception in life by society, is that there's a right or a wrong way to learn. There is no right or wrong way. There just is the way you learn. So however you learn is how you learn. And understand this, learning is just memory retention. That's it. And what it is, if we want to understand memory retention, we've got long-term and short-term. So short-term is all about like liquidity. So we have to be liquid in our thinking of being able to ebb and flow between different forms of memory, so different memories. So how we do this is by actively doing multiple things constantly. So from jumping from one activity to another, to another, to another, and just constantly doing that and building a behavior of being able to think about multiple different topics within the same day or time period. And with long-term memory, we have to understand that, well, memory is actually, the key to that is, well, long-term memories in our subconscious. Well, how does our subconscious understand anything? Well, it understands through meaning, emotion. So we got to understand the emotions that we give to pieces of knowledge or memories, okay, or pieces of information, is how we're able to train our brain to be able to access them. So, for example, all of my self-defense knowledge and understanding and fighting and combat is aligned and associated with aggression and anger. So if I want to understand, like if I feel threatened, all I have to do is become aggressive and angry, and my mind will remember all the information I need and just tell me what to do. So we got to understand this. And if I want to, like, for example, like with business, I try and associate like meanings of, enjoyment, happiness, fulfillment, things like that, so that when I want to think about different business ideas and get my mind into that mode, I just think about, like, I try to feel fulfillment. And once I start to feel gratitude and fulfillment, boom, all those memories, all that information is right at my access. Now, what we got to understand is, think of our mind as like, our brain is the computer, like the computer, right, with all the memory and shit on it, and our consciousness, okay, is the software. So through me shifting and changing my beliefs and thoughts, I am able to shape and change the software that operates the hardware. Okay? So when we understand this, but what we got to understand is our body, okay, is like the biomechanism. So our body is not disconnected from our brain in the sense that our body holds like a lot of, if we were to think of it like the CPU, the graphics card and all of that, and then the RAM and the hard disk are our brain. So the thing is we need the graphics card to be able to see what's on the hard drive, to be able to watch the videos or the imagery. So we got to understand that we need the cohesiveness between our thoughts, our brain, and our body to operate in cohesiveness. So our thoughts also influence the biochemical responses in our body. So it's a wild thing, because when we understand this, we understand the secret to the manual of this human body, the human mind, and the human experience. Is that if I want to remember more, I must study more. If I want to learn faster, I must do more. If I want to experience, I must be open to experience. If I want to, if I want to love, I have to first love myself, because love is only within me. So a funny realization I had on love, and if you've ever felt this, like love for another person, okay, understand this, that you're not actually feeling the connection to that other person, but what you're seeing is a mirrored reflection of how you feel about them. Okay, because we cannot experience outside of our body and mind. We can only experience internally. So if I ever want to feel in love, all I have to do is think and feel like I'm in love, and just understand that that feeling is a reflection of me. So all I have to do is hold on to that, and I have that forever. Now you've got to understand, when we talk about pushing beyond limits, this is where it becomes magical. Because if I understand that, then I am able to utilize that to boost my internal morale and fortitude and my will and determination, regardless of any situation, because I am whole. So I am able to self-fuel and access different aspects of my mind and body to gain full advantage of my potential capacity. Now David Goggins talks about this immensely, though I'm not sure how deep he understands it, but like for him, he uses pain and drive and just pushing and all of that. But the other thing is, you can use hope, you can use love, you can use anything, and you can put yourself into the ultimate state of bliss and pleasure while you dredge through the battlefield and the chaos of uncertainty. Do you get it? Does it make sense? You get the key to life and the key to this mind and body coherency, which is when you understand yourself and you become yourself, you only need yourself as fuel to achieve anything you want in life, fuel to be your authentic self and feel amazing about it, because you need no other to feel what you seek to feel. That is the key to life for happiness, is I cannot love another until I love myself in depthly, Because how I love another is a reflection of how I love myself. So if I don't love myself, I can never love another to the potential that I hold. So we've got to understand that how you treat anyone and everyone is how you treat yourself. Who you promote to any and everyone is who you think you are or who you think you need to be. How you feel emotionally in your environment is a reflection of how you feel emotionally about yourself. From big to small, outside to inside, nothing can change until the thoughts in your mind change. Your thoughts in your mind shape your beliefs and your memories. Where focus goes, energy flows. What I believe and think about repetitively is what I call into my life and what is created into being. Created into being through action. Created into being through authentic action. Not inauthentic action of what do I need to succeed? No. Authentic action. What do I need to be happy? Who do I want to be? How do I want to connect with others? How do I want to communicate? How do I want to be in the presence of me and in the presence of others? When we understand this, we understand who we are. We understand who we want to be around. And we understand how to love everyone. Even those you should hate. Even those you should feel nothing for. You should always hold love for them, not consciously, but unconditionally. Unconditionally because they are of you and you are of them. Who you see in them is a reflection of who you see in you. If you see them as being someone who you do not like, who you have to be with them is someone you do not want to be. If they don't see who you see within yourself, and they see and their actions are distorted from who you think they should be, they are not the right one for you. They do not know who they want to be yet. Understand, when with others and around others, electromagnetically and on different frequencies and wavelengths, we connect with each other through our energetic fields. And this comes from your heart, which projects, an electromagnetic field. And it comes from your mind, which projects I don't know, but it's in metaphysics. But basically, we connect with people on a deeper level when we're in their presence. Even just through audio and video, we're able to connect through tonality, of the voice, because we perceive information through that. So we got to understand that the words we say make up 10 or 20% of the overall communication. Body language, tonality, and our energetic state and our emotional state make up the other aspects of communication. So we got to understand, if I'm feeling aggressive but I'm trying to talk politely to people, people will feel the aggression within me. So we got to understand, I'm sending out signals if I feel aggressive. If I feel positive and happy, people will pick up on that energy too. And you can test this in your life. All you need to do is when you walk down the street, lift your eyebrows and smile at everyone you meet. And if you do that, watch what happens within 100 steps. See how you feel. See how others respond to you. See how others' response makes you feel. Showing respect to another is the greatest, dopamine endorphin rush that you can get. When we do a random act of respect for another, it is the most honorable thing we can do, but it encompasses everything. And just to the same, when we disrespect another, we are also disrespecting ourselves. So when we show respect to another, we show respect to ourselves. When we show disrespect to another, we show disrespect to ourselves. So to live with hatred is to live a life you hate. You will call a life of hatred into your life, trust me. I lived that life for a long time. And it's only through understanding that it's fine. I am okay if violence is put on me, violence shall be. If no violence shall be, there's no violence within me. Do you get it? So it's accepting those aspects of yourself and saying, yes, there is a part of me that is highly violent and a psychopath. And, it's not that I have to lock him up. It's that if people don't put violence on me, it is not necessary for me to have violence in my actions. I can always get more with honey than I can with my fists. If I show another respect, the likelihood of an attack decreases dramatically. For to attack someone who just showed you respect is a very disrespectful move and is grounds for a vicious and violent attack. So understand that. If you show people respect, it's not that, they have to show you respect back, no. But if they choose to attack you when you show them respect, you are justified to defend yourself physically, viciously, and violently. Okay? And if they show you respect back, that is grounds to build upon more respect. And it's always better to have allies than enemies. For an enemy unseen will put a blade where you least expect it. Understand that. So if you live a life with fear and intimidation as your primary tool, you will call in people who use fear and intimidation as their primary tool. If you are unaware of these people, you will get a knife to the ribs should you act outside of their interests. If you show people respect and you don't act outside of their interests, there is no cause for them to do anything but act within your interests. So if we want people to show us respect, we must first show them respect. Regardless of the outcome, until it gets to physical violence, we show respect. Should they choose to be disrespectful and choose physical violence, we are forced to unequivocally accept disrespect. So understand this. You never want to be a predator in life. You don't want to seek to take advantage of others. Should you seek to take advantage of others, and should you take advantage of others, you will reap what you sow. You should always seek to benefit others. For if you seek to benefit others, you will reap what you sow. Regardless of anything in life, there is no meaning. But the meaning you give it, the meaning I give it, the meaning everyone gives it. We all have our own individual meanings, and you've got to understand, life, if you do something evil, does not care. Okay? And that's not a green light to do evil. For to do evil will destroy who you are. You will only undo who you could have been. To do evil is to forego any form of honor. Okay? Now, there are certain areas in life where there is grounds for evil. Combat is one of them. Should someone attack you, there is no fair in combat. There is only advantage and disadvantage. And your be all and end all when combat engages, and this is my personal belief, and this is the belief I hold within me, and that is, when combat is engaged, I do not seek to survive. I seek to just have fun and fight. Okay? I do not seek to be better than another. I let go of all hesitation and limitations, and I become the animalistic beast within. So understand that, like, in combat, it is not about pretty, it is not about fair, it is not about, like, you have to accept that upon beginning combat, your life is forfeit, and you just seek to act within your natural instincts of fighting and surviving and doing whatever must be done to, basically cause more damage to the other person than can be physically possibly caused to you. So one really not funny, but like, to me it's funny, but, and I mean funny in the way that it just makes me think like it's so counterintuitive, but you've got to understand, if I seek to survive in a combat situation, I will look to preserve my life. So that will influence my decision making and also my limitations. If I accept death as being the ultimate limitation, so I have to die for me to stop, okay, then it's quite good, because until I hit that point, I will keep pushing, I will keep fighting, and I will just keep moving forward. Like, there's no thought, because like, all I'm looking for is to keep moving forward, So like, for example, in a street fight, we're looking to disarm the other person, so try to break arms, legs, try to disable their airways, or disable, their computations, but yeah, it's just, to get off that topic, we got to understand that there's, like, all hate and all fear and all those negative emotions that are within us are within everyone. And the thing is a lot of us, and I used to be guilty for this, you let other people influence our feelings and our fears. conditions and dictate who and how we should respond to them. And it's not a good way to live, because the problem is then we start to fight for other people's morals. So that's why I personally, if a war breaks out and a draft comes, but every day of the week I'm going into combat, even though I know the likelihood of survival for me personally will be very low, because I would seek to risk as much as I could because I just believe, in fight or flight, my only response is to aggressively move forward. So the thing is in combat, I've tried to experience combat as much as I can without committing to a military, in the context of understanding through videos and documentaries, and trying to learn and understand what the experiences were for the soldiers, because I just personally, without hesitation, would never kill someone for someone else's belief. But in saying that, I would always seek to defend those around me. But the problem is people like hatred and violence and fear and anger manipulates and warps our mind and our beliefs, and it makes us callous and inhumane and vicious. And I personally don't think that's a good trait. So, for example, for me personally, I need to have a personal reason to go and fight in a war. So, for example, if they do a draft, personally I must fight so that I can honour all those who accepted the drafts in previous wars, especially those who didn't come back. For if they didn't accept the draft, I wouldn't be here having this conversation. Our world wouldn't be the shape and the way it is. Now, it's not perfect, but the honour those men and women died fighting for is the honour, ingrained within all of humanity. To fight, to defend those you care about and your homeland that you care about, and to defend your values and beliefs and your way of life. The thing is the government doesn't understand that if they keep fucking with us, they will become on the other side of our way of life. And if they try any bullshit like these fucking pandemics, and they try and fucking do this shit again, there's only a certain point we can get to before it becomes tyrannical. And once it passes to tyrannical, then we have a responsibility for every citizen in every country to fight tyranny. For we believe in democracy, and democracy opposes, well, not so much democracy, but our value and our understanding of democracy and republics, and democratic order vows that any and all tyrannical governments must be opposed, regardless. And in America, in the Civil War, not the Civil War, but the Revolutionary War, they understood that they had one or two choices: to live under tyranny or to fight to defend their right to determine their way of life. Everyone inherently has this right, but you do not have the right to determine what someone else's way of life is. You only have the right to determine what your way of life is. is you can get consensus with other people on sharing very similar beliefs or even the same beliefs. You can share consensus, but you cannot force another to share your consensus. You know, we can mutually understand the benefits for them all and, you know, cohesively work together, but we cannot oppress other people just because we feel justified in our actions. So should the government feel justified in their actions to, you know, deny liberty and freedom to their people and try and manipulate and control the masses have only one choice but to respond violently and viciously and show that you don't fucking do this, and should you do this, this will be the response. And you know the funny thing? We don't even need weapons. We don't even need anything but our bare hands. Because if we have a willingness to fight to our end of life with everything we have to defend our freedoms just with our bare hands, there is no weapon against us that shall prosper. For that is a magical gift. The gift of true freedom and willingness to survive and withstand any amount of pressure that is put on us. And it doesn't have to be violent, but should lines be crossed and violence is the only option, violence becomes the only option. But you don't seek violence for change, because violence only creates more violence. So the goal is not the violence, but the goal is to show those who would portray violence that your violence does not scare me, and you can do whatever you want to me, but you will never break me, you will never shake me, and you will never get me to kneel and cower. Should you choose to portray violence against me, I will defend myself with violence, with my hands and feet, with my teeth as an animal, as a beast in the death rattles, with one last fight for survival. Without will or fear, just a burning desire to fight for breath, to fight for freedom, to fight for that last chance at life. If the government does not understand what freedom means, we will stand and show them what freedom means. Should they choose violence, they will understand the level of violence that will be needed to cower us. And that is ultimate death. Why? Because if you fear death, you become susceptible to corruption. If you want to be incorruptible, you must not fear death. For to fear death is to allow a willingness to break from your values for the possibility of life. For that is not to fight to the last. To fight to the last means that while there is a chance of survival, I am taking it. Any chance, every chance, I am moving. Should we engage in physical combat, I will fight with every effort I can to gain advantage. Regardless of the situation in front of me, regardless of my physical state, while there is will, there is desire. While there is desire, there is a burning light, burning a path to my goals. So understand this. I do not seek violence, because violence is not the answer. But when violence is utilized, it can only be responded to with violence. It doesn't mean you must attack, but you must be willing to defend. It doesn't mean that you must, you know, fear another attacking you. Fear no other. Should an attack form against you, deal with that attack. But don't fear any others. But in dealing with it, ensure that no other attack can come. So, should the government want to, go tyrannical and things go way off, into a dystopian nightmare that we all don't want, where people cease to be reasonable, which is highly unlikely because the majority of people are reasonable, but the unreasonable people have the loudest voice these days. The unreasonable people are in the highest positions because reasonable people will forego, advantage in seeks of, accommodation, of negotiation. So understand this, those in power are not powerful. Those in high places have no physical prowess. And that's not, to call anyone out or anything like that, but that's saying people who feel superior to others and feel like they have advantage over others and that they are better or superior to others, they aren't. Not in the physical world, not in reality. In reality, everyone is unique and everyone is equal. And there is no, our society may try to polarize that there are higher people than, elite people and average people, but there aren't. Average is just a mindset of choosing to, limit your existence to, less than you desire. Average is a state within everyone. Just as being a leader or a high performer is a state within everyone. Any and anyone can become whoever they want to be within any period of time that they set. You do not need to learn anything to become the best version of yourself. All you must be willing is to be that person, uphold those values, and move towards those ideals. And you are that person. So the thing is that, everyone is equal in the sense that everyone has the exact same opportunity, in life as a human being to be their unique full potential. But the problem is, society looks to cage and box us so that we all fit into idyllic trends. So understand this, true freedom and liberty is the freedom and liberty to be uniquely yourself and authentically yourself and not feel like you have to be someone you're not to be who you want to be. Okay? You should never seek to change who you are to be around people you don't want to be around. You should always seek to be around those who value you for you. Just like I always seek to be around those who value me for me. And those who do not value me, I accept you. I accept you and I don't value you either. Should you value me, I'll value you because you're presenting me with opportunity and value. If you don't value me, you present me with liability and risk. So you've got to understand, in life, in business, in relationships, it all comes down to, are you an asset or a liability? Is your partner, is this someone who makes you feel uniquely more yourself? Or is this someone who makes you feel distant from who you are, just so that you can be who they want you to be? Know this, the greatest loss in life comes when a man or a woman chooses to be who they're not meant to be because they think it'll fulfill them. When fulfillment and happiness come from accepting exactly who you are and who you want to be. By you accepting yourself and loving yourself, authentically for being yourself, you will feel immensely happy. You will feel joyous. You will feel love. You will feel gratitude. You will feel self-confident. You will feel self-esteem. You will feel self-worth. But it's a very, very long process that you have to learn different aspects of the different layers of who you are and how you're made up. And this is personally for me, one of my projects is I'm releasing a thesis which is understanding the mind and understanding, and it covers self-validation, so understanding how to validate internal thoughts and beliefs, and understanding how to construct your narrative in your mind, and then self-confidence, understanding how to condition in behaviours, but also how to minimize negative thought patterns and self-doubt and things like that. And then the next one will be self-confidence, which will go through understanding what is confidence and what is self-confidence. Well, self-confidence is just certainty of outcome. So I am highly self-confident because I'm certain that, when I talk to people, I give them value, because my intention is to help empower other people and enlighten them and create positive change within people. So my goal is to inspire people to believe that anything is possible. So in every conversation, I seek to always take the path of possibility, regardless of, how difficult that path may be. If that is the most difficult path, that is the most difficult path for me, because I will always see what is possible over what should be, because what is possible is immensely greater than what should be, and what is possible, well, unfortunately it can never be. But to seek what is possible and fail is to live a life of dreams. So understand, we do not seek to accomplish, but we just seek to do, to progress, to move forward with no care for the outcome. All we hope is that we are bettering tomorrow. And that's a key thing to understand, is that our motivations in life, in business, in existence should always be to positively progress ourselves forward, so that we move from day to day having amazing days. And should bad occasions happen, that's okay. Like, it's okay. It's okay to feel like shit. It's okay to feel worthless. Like, you gotta disassociate those feelings from the negative emotions, because those feelings are just narratives. They're thought patterns. They don't mean anything. You can reshape them. And that's one of the beautiful things about my course on self-validation is I write these courses because these are how I formulate and understand my theses and understand it. So I study for years, and then I experiment and I play with them in my own life and build, and then I write them out so I can cohesively understand them. So understand, these courses have no meaning except for me. Like, to me, this is how I understand self-validation. To me, it's how I remind myself on what it all means, which is awesome. And, it gives me immense personal value and personal power, and empowers me to being able to do any everything with nothing. Want nothing and have everything. Do you get it? Does it make sense? Like, I seek nothing and I experience everything. I am therefore blessed with abundance, for I am only ever receiving everything. And I have zero want or need for anything. Now, that's not to say I don't need money, you know what I mean? But it's to say that money isn't the reason. Money is just a tool for me to be able to, trade in commerce, to be able to, get the resources I need, to be able to live the life I want to the level of comfort that I personally want. So, to understand this is that I do not seek outside of what I want. And what I want is freedom. Freedom to not have to worry about money, but freedom to not have to be motivated by money. So the thing is, should I want to live within the confines of society, requires more attention to money, because money is a more dominant form of commerce. Whereas if I'm experiencing life, well, energy is the form of commerce. Like, do you get it? Like, I'm not saying I'd walk 400 Ks in a day, but, it's much easier to be able to drive places, but, you've got to have that energy and that drive and that passion of possibility and the desire of exploration for the uncharted and the unknown. So, it's one of those things that in life, what I seek doesn't have to revolve around materialism, because materialism is just comfort. So should I want to live in comfort, I need to focus more attention on materialism. Now, I'm not saying I don't want to live a life of comfort. I'm just saying that for me, I seek to build my bank account of experiences and enjoyment and love and laughter, and I seek to empower and uplift people over, financially succeed. Like, I don't really care about money. You know what I mean? Like, the funny thing is when I went plant-based, and the reason I went plant-based is because for me personally, like, I don't judge anyone else. Everyone, like, look however you want, be however you want. You are entitled to choose the life you want to live. You're entitled to do whatever you want in life. I do not care. But for me personally, on myself, I just have a belief of, like, fat disgusts me personally, on me. So it doesn't mean, like, and I've dated girls that are, curvy, and there's nothing wrong with it. Like I find them attractive as well. Like, that's the thing, is like I don't think it's disgusting on other people. I just think personally for me, because I have certain beliefs on, like, physical performance. So like, I'm a highly energetic person, so I have to be active all the time. I cannot stand not being active. So for me, I have to be physically capable to be able to, and especially when I live in Queensland, when in summer, I have to be able to do physical activities, difficult physical activities in 40 to 45 degree temperatures. So that's one of the big things, is for me, it's about inefficiency, but I also I like to be ripped. So my ideal body type is the one I have now, which is like athletic, like a hiker or a runner or something like that. Like, I don't want to be like a bodybuilder. I used to, but not anymore. And the thing is the bigger you get with muscles, the more people that want to victimize you and try and show that they're tougher than you. When you're not too impressive with the muscles, like, it's no stress. Like, no one fucks with you. If you have just enough muscles to be like, you know, able to, you know, to deter people, like by basically, you know, if I punch you, you're gonna fucking feel it, cunt. Like, being able to do that, if you're not overly big, like, you're sweet. You'll fly under the radar and people won't really fuck with you, and if you show them respect, they won't have a reason to. So, you know, that's one of the things. But like, for me personally, like it's just, I had to go plant-based because while I was eating meat, it was so fucking hard to lose weight. I was always fat. I always had a fucking gut. No matter, like, I was muscular, but no matter how hard I trained, and I'm talking, I did 3 hours of high intensity, like, you know, high intensity cardio, high intensity weights, and then I did circuit training to finish it off. I used to be a fucking beast, and I used to just outperform, but the problem was, I never got the results because I was always eating fatty products, like, you know what I mean? And that's the thing I learned, was that if your two fuel sources for your body, well, there's 3 fuel sources your body utilizes, right? So the first is carbs. That's the primary fuel source, and think of it as that's the cleanest burning fuel. So predominantly, if the option for carbs is there, that your body will take it. The secondary is fat. Fat requires more effort to burn than carbs for the same energy output. So your body will predominantly go carbs over fats, but it'll always choose fats if carbs are not available. So to lose fat, you have to get into a carb deficit. And then the third is protein, so your muscles and shit. So if you're on a diet without any protein, your muscles are going to deteriorate. Your body will cannibalize your muscles. So, you know, so what I realized is if you cut out animal fats and you just have high carb, high protein, you've got a high energy diet and you've also got high protein, but there's no fat. So for you to put on fat, you have to drastically sit in a surplus, like a calorie or a surplus of, 2 to 3 times what you normally would, because your body will naturally metabolize everything you eat. So, but the funny thing is because what I realized is if you eat carbs and animal fats in the same meal, your body, while it's burning the carbs, will just store the animal fat as fat. And then when you get hungry, you're going to want carbs again, because carbs are the easiest. And I love carbs, so that's what I do. I just eat fucking tons of carbs, fruit, veggies, seeds and nuts, and then all your lentils and your chickpeas and shit. And I just create these high carb, high protein diets that, basically, if I have a high protein diet and I don't train, at least I'm not going to lose muscle mass at such a rate. So, for example, I haven't done any weights training in 6 months. And on a plant-based diet, I've been able to maintain, so I can maintain around 68 kilos quite easily. And if I get back into training or I increase my food, then I just go up to 75. So I'm able to manipulate my weight. I get down as low as 62 if I'm doing strict fasting. So sometimes I do intermittent fasting and dieting to expose myself in the event that there's a draft and I have to go to the military and go days without food, or if I'm out on an adventure, hiking, doing stuff, and I have to go days without food in a survival circumstance. So a very important thing to understand with that is if I just have a fat diet, it achieves the exact same. The key is you can eat animal products, you just can't eat animal products and carbs in the same meal. If you do that, you're gonna fuck yourself, because your body will burn the carbs and store the fat. But the key thing is, okay, you want to try intermittent fasting. That's what I do, eating once a day, or eating for one period a day. Okay, so you can either have one meal a day if you want, or you can have a grazing period. So for example, I might eat between the hours of, like, let's say 6 and 9. For 3 hours I might eat, and then I won't eat until the next day around that time. So what happens is my body starts to process it, but when I wake up in the morning, what happens is the entire day I'm only giving myself, like, I'll have a coffee or something like that, and I have sugars. So I'm giving myself, like, quick, short energy bursts to maintain, but also, like, my body's having to utilize all that fuel from last night. So it's like driving a car on a full tank. You don't need to stop until you're empty again. But think about it like this. So that's intermittent fasting, where we fill up and then we go on our trip, and when we're empty, or when we're, like, depending on how far we travel, let's say we have a tank that does, 500k full. So every 400 Ks, we're filling up again. You know what I mean? So we're not going to, we can go to empty if we need to, but we're regularly filling it up so that we have a buffer, so for example, like, I'll wait until I'm hungry to eat, and then I'll wait another 30 minutes usually, so that, I can just extend that period and really, as we start getting hungry, that's our body telling us that, hey, I'm starting to run low on fuel. And then what it'll do is it'll switch to burning fats. So I try and extend a little bit. But some days I might eat earlier. Like, do whatever the fuck you want, man. That's what I believe. But the other way people do it is they'll eat 3 times a day. Now, if you eat 3 times a day, you got to think about it. Your body, like, it takes like 2 to 4 hours to digest shit in your stomach. Sometimes it can take much longer, but depending on the foods. But basically what you're doing is you're constantly sitting in a state of digestion. And that's a high energy deficit. Like, it requires a lot of energy for you to digest food, and me to digest food. So one of the funny things is that the more often you eat, the lower the quality of your immune system and your repair functions of your body, because your body, every time you eat, when it goes into digestion, it requires so much energy, so it shuts off anything like the subroutines, so all the sub-programming. So you got to understand, until you finish digesting, then your body starts rebooting up and starts doing, like, your immune system and working on repair and shit like that. And, so, like, that's one of the funny things is, if we eat too regularly, we're actually deteriorating our bodies at a faster rate, because we're artificially putting our state in a state of perpetual digestion where nothing else can be done. It's sort of like, think of a business that only does sales calls, right? And all they do is prospect. Yeah, great. We're getting so much great stuff in, but if we don't, have salesmen closing, well then, like, it's just burning and going to waste. We're just wasting, energy. So we're eating to digest, and then eating to digest, and then eating to digest. So what we got to understand is we want to eat a large meal and then keep as much time as possible between meals, so that we're able to utilize that energy in our day-to-day, which is pretty cool. I've got to find somewhere to pull over for a second. But just by understanding that's how I'm able to obtain my physique. Is literally 80% diet, 20% exercise. So you gotta, like, to justify eating, you have to, like, eating is collecting energy. So that energy is either going to be utilized to repair your body, which most of it is, or it's going to be utilized to, exert, energy, physical energy and kinetic energy, or it might be used to exert cerebral energy. So, we just got to understand, we got to justify why we're feeding ourselves fuel. Otherwise, we're trying to fill up on a full tank. And it's just sort of like the fuel's going on the ground, and it's kind of, a bit of a waste of time. Which is, we don't want to be doing that, because then it's sort of like we're eating for no reason. Whereas, depending on what you do, like if you're doing any form of like training or anything like that, like bodybuilding or, physical training, like you want to match your diet to your outcome and your goals. So if you want to put on weight, well, you want to be eating twice as much as the energy you're expending, so you can store that energy. But all right, well, that'll end this one, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.